My next introduction is somebody many of you know and have known for a long time. But Lloyd, before you come up, let me give you just a little bit of background on the Moskowitz Prize. And I understand you're going to go into the whole history of it, but just a snippet from my perspective, because I was an active member of the board of the Social Investment Forum, of what used to be the Social Investment Forum is now USCIF, for many years, actually 11 years. And all during the 90s and even into the early double aughts. The organization didn't have much of a budget, it didn't have any staff, and it's a whole different world now, thanks to Lisa and Michael and that whole team. But in those days, we came up with a rather creative solution to moving the industry forward, and we called it the hub and spoke model. The hub was the board of the Social Investment Forum, again, USCIF today, and we partnered with other organizations, kind of thinking about them as spokes, but where the forum, or USCIF, could kind of control and have a lot of influence and whatnot, but somebody else would do all the work. That was the key. And Lloyd stepped up at that point and said, I think I'd like to head up an effort to do an academic prize. And it didn't take long for us to put it all together, and Milt Moskowitz agreed for us to use his name, somewhat in vain, and the rest is history. So since 1996, we've been awarding the Moskowitz Prize for academic research here at the SRI conference. Lloyd Kurtz is the heart, soul, and moving force behind that effort. I'd like to bring you up on stage now, Lloyd, and I'd love to have you all give him a big hand, please.
Well, I've discovered I can't talk anymore unless there are slides. So, I think the big green button moves them forward. A couple of preliminary remarks. Steve and George were generous enough to give us a little extra time today. We want to introduce the winner of the prize, but it dawned on us, we went a long time without explaining what this prize is or how it works. And so there's a certain percentage of folks in the room who really haven't been briefed. And even if you think you understand the Moskowitz Prize pretty well, there have been a lot of changes. The past 5 years have seen a real evolution, and it's no longer something I can just quickly explain, so we have slides. The first question people have is, what's the Moskowitz Prize? So the Moskowitz Prize is pretty straightforward. The mission's never really changed. We're looking for good academic, quantitative studies. It doesn't have to be academic, it can be a practitioner paper, but a good paper, something factual, evidence-based, that bears on the profession of social investment. That can be social, sustainable investment, it can relate to corporate social responsibility. That's it. We've tended to shy away from fields like corporate governance, where there's already a lot of work done. There are whole conferences on that. But 18 years ago, you could count on one hand all the good papers that had ever been done on social investment. And the first time we did the Moskowitz Prize, we only had about 8 or 9 papers to consider. Today, that number is much larger. As Steve said, when we look at the stakeholders, the most important stakeholder is Milt Moskowitz, who has put up with 18 years of our using his name. Milt's a great guy, got a hilarious sense of humor. He said the great thing about the Moskowitz Prize is he gets a free lunch every year from me. And I tell him what we're up to, and he says, okay, keep doing that, and on we go. In recent years, Blaine Townsend has also gotten involved. Milt and Blaine are close. Blaine is his stepson. Blaine's also in the same firm as I am. And Blaine's mission as we go along is to make sure that we preserve the spirit of this prize. Milt, from when he wrote for the New York Times in the 70s, when he did the first study of the performance of socially responsible stocks, when he started the 100 best companies to work for in America, when he was an important catalyst in the creation of the Working Mothers List, he has always insisted, fundamentally, that we look at business through human eyes. And the spirit of the prize always is going to try and capture that. That we always want to have the honesty of how would a normal person, how would a regular person in life look at this problem, and how would we help to work toward a more human-friendly face of enterprise. I'm showing you clips from a mind map. This is the actual mind map software I use to kind of keep track of what's going on with the prize. Steve mentioned the early genesis of the prize, the Social Investment Forum and First Affirmative Financial Network. About 10 years ago, there was a transition. We had the opportunity, which had not been available when we started the prize, to give it an institutional home at a top 10 business school. And we took that with Milt's blessing. The Center for Responsible Business at the Haas School of Business at Berkeley said, we'd like to have the Moskowitz Prize here. We'll provide you resources and access to the best academic people to help you move it forward. And they have been true to their word. Today, the folks in charge are Joe Mackness, the executive director, and Amy Din, who is the project manager. The Moskowitz Prize happens every year because Amy makes it happen. As well, Neuberger and my long-suffering employer, Nelson Capital, all of these are critical, and this sponsorship money all goes to the winner, with a small amount left over for travel and for administrative costs. And that's it. That's the whole budget. There is no one else involved in this process. None of these names you see is getting any compensation for what they're doing. The Moskowitz Prize today will send out a press release. You might say, big deal. How hard can that be? Well, that's just a brief resume of all the people involved. The Center for Responsible Business, the Haas School, First Affirmative, as well as FS Insight, a European organization, are coordinating on the authorship and publication of the prize. So the administrative apparatus is significant. The judging over the years has become more and more difficult. A couple reasons for that. Number one, the studies get better. Every single year the studies get better. One great byproduct of the Moskowitz Prize and all the associated work that's been done is the professors and their students have gotten really sophisticated about it. The databases are good now. And so the best studies, it's very hard to discriminate. The other reason we wanted to move the study to Berkeley and wanted to avail of ourselves of the depth of the talent there is that we have a lot of studies now. I don't know if you can read that, but we had 48 studies in the preliminary round of judging this year. So there was a time in my memory when I could take a week off, go through the field, sort out a couple finalists and get them to the judges. And those days ended long ago. Now we have a much more difficult task. The judging follows simple criteria. The number one thing is it has to matter for social and sustainable investors. If it doesn't, we don't care. Okay, it has to have some practical significance to what we do. It needs to be quantitative, and ideally, quantitative techniques need to be unique or novel, something that hasn't been done before. The real objective here, the charge we put to the judges is, look, we got 48 studies here. Which one of these should we show to social investment practitioners and say, this is the one that really deserves your attention? The first stage of judging took all summer. Four of us, Nadia, Yaron, and Chris Luck and I, wasted some vacation days. There's some pictures of me at a resort going through studies, which is kind of sad. But we got through it. And as I say, the top studies are very closely, it's very tough competition at the top of this process. These are the best people around the world, Europe, Asia, and the US, all submitting. Once we worked through that group, we got down to 4. We weren't able to get down to 3, which is our usual target. And we passed that on to the next judging group. And I'm very proud of the quality of these judges. Brian Bruce in particular I want to mention. Brian Bruce gave us instant credibility in 1996 when he said, I like the judges they've got. I'm going to automatically publish whatever paper they choose in the Journal of Investing. And that took this from just being a prize for an academic work to guaranteeing to someone, whether they were a practitioner or an academic, you will get published. If you can win this prize, your paper will be published. And that, I think, opened the floodgates and let people take a risk that prior to that maybe they'd passed on. The other judges are all eminent. As Dan DiBartolomeo has been a judge from day one, as is Brian. Brad Barber from Cal Davis joined us this year, superb equilibrium theorist. Lisa Goldberg from Berkeley. Pietro Rivoli has been a long-standing judge. Just terrific people, and I've told people this group of judges is strong enough. You could put together a pretty fine business school finance department. Brad, for example, is one of the top 50 cited economists in the world. All of these people are very high profile, very high quality folks. So we could not ask for better judges, better sponsors, or for better institutional organizational support than we've had. So just a comment on the winners. There they are, 17, and we're going to give the 18th today. The winners run the gamut. There's practitioners there, finance professors, management professors, even folks working for not-for-profit think tanks. Incredible diversity. But looking back at those studies, I teach a course at Haas every year in social investing. Going back to those studies, they stand up. The judges have done a fine job of identifying work that there's an old line about art being news that stays news. The same is true about social investment studies. A couple interesting things about the winners. I hope the highlights can show up. There's a little light blue circles. Only a few women. This is symptomatic of the underrepresentation of women in the so-called mathematical or hard sciences. In finance, that's changing. We see a lot of quality women who are involved. Folks like Pietra Rivoli are on the judging team, and Lisa Goldberg, but not that many. Also, sort of shocking to me, there have only been a few instances where one individual did a paper that won the prize. Brad Barber, Alex Edmonds, and the very first prize, John Gerard. If you were here then, remember John and his colorful way of talking. So, three solo winners, and none of them are women, till today. So, the 18th Moskowitz Prize is being awarded for a study. We'll have a panel tomorrow on it. If you're interested in engagement, you got to come. This is probably the best study of engagement ever done. We gave this prize last year. It's also one of the most important studies of corporate social responsibility generally, because it makes the strongest argument for a causal relationship between corporate responsibility and financial outcomes that's ever been made. It's methodologically innovative, and it is really, really good. The person who wrote that study, I hope, will join me in welcoming the rousing SRI Conference welcome to Carolyn Flammer, here from MIT Ivey School of Business. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm deeply honored to receive this award, and I would like to thank you all for your incredible work you're doing, and I hope I will be able to encourage you a little bit further to continue your work tomorrow. I would like to thank Lloyd, as well as all the stakeholders involved in this award, including the Center for Business for Responsible Business of Haas School of Business at Berkeley, the sponsors, and Ivey Business School for providing me such a great research environment, MIT Sloan and my research assistant, undergraduate research assistant, Hanoi Nam, for an excellent job she's done. Thank you very much.